Hello, my name is Dick Wallace, and I'm president of the Community Youth Activities Organization, a nonprofit operating primarily out of Alton, New Hampshire. Today, what I'd like to do is talk a little bit with you and this group of people with me about risky behaviors by our youth and to some extent by adults too. The information is provided for the Alton community as a result of an initiative that we began some time back, collaborating with the Alton Chief of Police and the Regional Network Coordinator for Partners in Prevention, a Belknap County organization and working in the Alton area and other areas. The mission of this initiative is to inform and educate our community, especially parents and youth too, about risky behaviors and that the youth might begin to use and the adverse effect that they may have on the safety of our families in the community. And risky behavior, by the way, can be both by youth or adults and is likely to result in physical, mental, or emotional problems to either the individual and or people, or it is illegal perhaps. A goal of this initiative is to provide educational information and updates to our community that concerns risky behaviors by our youth and provide tips for parents. This is very important. Tips for parents to help them address these issues within the family. We plan to provide updates on a continuing basis to keep our community not just updated but aware of these types of social issues. The types of risky behavior is next, and I'd like to introduce our Chief Heath from Alton, and Tracy Fowler, who is the Regional Coordinator for Partners in Prevention for us. And they will be talking to you, as well as I, about what is risky behavior and what parents can do about that. And now, folks, I would like to introduce Chief Heath, our Alton Police Chief, who's going to speak about two types of risky behaviors. One is sexting and the other is social media. Chief?
Thank you, Dick. I appreciate it. So what is sexting? Sexting is sending sexually explicit messages via cell phone or instant messenger. As technology has advanced and cell phones have the capability to record and send photos and video, the practice of sending suggestive and explicit pictures has increased, especially among teens. Why is sexting a problem? Young people and adults have been exchanging sexually suggestive and explicit letters, messages, and other materials for years. So sexting shouldn't come as a big surprise. On the other hand, the ease with which photos and videos can be exchanged is a concern. A photo shared between two people can quickly become a viral phenomenon. We have seen this happen with various celebrity photos and sex videos over the past few years. Following are a few concerns about sexting. For instance, photos and videos sent privately can easily be shared with others. Some kids and adults don't know that once a digital image is out there, meaning that it's been passed from cell phone to cell phone or out onto the internet, it leaves a digital footprint, especially online, and you can't take that digital footprint back. And it is often damaging to young adults. 51% of teen girls cite pressure from guys as a reason to send explicit messages, while only 18% of teen boys say so. That's very concerning given the fact that there's already a power imbalance between young boys and young teen girls. Sexting is also currently illegal under federal law. It falls under the creation, distribution, and possession of child porn and is a felony offense. While some lawmakers are working to change this, others are prosecuting both the individual taking the pictures and those who are possessing them. Here are a few tips that parents can do in regards to approaching their children about the topic of sexting. The best approach to talk about sexting is to take a non-judgmental and informational approach. Keep the dialogue open. Leave room for your kids to talk with you rather than hiding things away. Try some simple conversation starters to break the ice. For instance, have you heard about this sexting thing? Do you know anything about it? I was watching TV or reading the news the other day and saw a story about some kids who got in trouble for sending sexually suggestive or naked pictures. This is an area where you would want to use your own language or your own term. There are other types of things that you can do to approach your children, like asking them about what they and their friends like to share online. Or, I want to make sure you're taking care of yourself and looking out for your friends as well. Rather than leading the conversation, make sure you listen to your teen. They may not agree with you about what is and isn't appropriate, and may have some compelling reasons why. Helping them think about the possible consequences of their behavior, and also the type of image they'd like to represent to the world, is one way to encourage them to come to their own conclusions. Now, we've been talking about sexting. Well, along the same lines, sexting also ties into another issue of concern these days, which is social media. In this day and age, the social media is becoming a way of life. Most teens use social media on a daily basis to stay connected with their classmates. Unfortunately, most parents are not familiar with the way social media works, so it is easier for teens to hide things. Social media has taken the community issues to higher levels. For example, social media provides a venue for cyberbullying to take place and for teens to exchange sexually suggestive and explicit letters, messages, and photos. The constant connection also provides teens an easy way to organize parties and arrange the sale or purchase of alcohol and drugs. A few tips for parents in regards to social media used by youth. Remind your kids that online actions have consequences. The words kids write and the images they post have consequences offline. Kids should post only what they're comfortable with others seeing. Some of your child's profile may be seen by a broader audience than you or they are comfortable with, even if privacy settings are high. Encourage your child to think about the language they use online and to think before posting pictures and videos or altering photos posted by someone else. Employers, college administrations, officers, coaches, teachers, and the police may view your child's posts. Remind kids that once they post it, they can't take it back. Even if you delete the information from a site, you have little control over older versions that may exist on other people's computers and may circulate online. Tell your kids not to impersonate someone else. Let your kids know that it's wrong to create sites, pages, or posts that seem to come from someone else, like a teacher, a classmate, or someone they made up. Help your kids understand what information should stay private. Tell your kids why it's important to keep some things about themselves, family members, and friends to themselves. Information like their social security number, street address, phone number, and family financial information like bank accounts or credit card numbers are private and should stay that way. Talk to your teens about avoiding sex talk online. Research shows that teens who don't talk about sex with strangers online are less likely to come in contact with predators. In fact, researchers have found that predators usually don't pose as children or teens, and most teens who are contacted by adults they don't know find it creepy. Teens should not hesitate to ignore or block them. Politeness counts. Teach your kids to be polite offline. Talk to them about being courteous online as well. Texting may seem fast and impersonal, yet courtesies like PLS and TY for please and thank you are common text terms. Tone it down. Using all caps, long rows of exclamation points, or large bolded fonts are the online equivalent of yelling. Most people don't appreciate a rant. Suggest that your kids resist the temptation to send a message to everyone on their contact list. Limit access to your kids' profiles. Use privacy settings. Many social networking sites and chat rooms have adjustable privacy settings, so you can restrict who has access to your kids' profiles. Talk to your kids about the importance of these settings and your expectations for who should be allowed to view their profile. Set high privacy preferences on your kids' chat and video chat accounts as well. Most chat programs allow parents to control whether people on their kids' contact list can see their status, including whether they're online. Some chat and email accounts allow parents to determine who can send messages to their kids and block anyone not on the list. Create a safe screen name. Encourage your kids to think about the impression that screen names can make. A good screen name won't reveal much about how old they are, where they live, or their gender. For privacy purposes, your kids' screen names should not be the same as their email addresses. Review your child's friends list. You may want to limit your children's online friends to people they actually know. Talk to kids about what they're doing online. Know what your kids are doing. Get to know the social networking sites your kids use so you understand their activities. If you're concerned about risky online behavior, you may want to search the social sites they use to see what information they're posting. Are they pretending to be someone else? Try searching by their name, nickname, school, hobbies, grade, or community. Ask your kids who they're in touch with online, just as you want to know who your kids are friends with offline. It's a good idea to know who they're talking to online. Encourage them to tell you if they feel threatened by someone or uncomfortable because of something online. You can then help them report concerns to the police and the social networking sites. Most of these sites have links for users to report abuse, suspicious, or inappropriate behavior. Well, that ends my section on social media as well. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Dick and Tracy for inviting me to take part in this presentation. And I will pass it over to Dick now, because I believe he's going to discuss some additional risky behaviors. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Chief, for being with us. And now I'd like to speak with you folks about bullying. Bullying is in fact unwanted, and it's aggressive behavior by most of the school-age children that we have. It involves usually real or perceived power imbalance. But parents should be aware that an adult may actually also be a bully or being bullied. The behavior usually is repeated or has the potential to be repeated, whatever the behavior is for bullying. And both kids who are bullied and those bullied by others may have serious, lasting problems. Verbal bullying is the first type of bullying I'd like to speak about. Verbal bullying means talking about mean things verbally. Verbal bullying is one type of bullying. We're going to talk about three types. Verbal is saying or writing mean things about someone. Verbal bullying includes things like teasing, name-calling, making inappropriate sexual comments, just taunting someone, or threatening to harm them. The next type is social bullying, and sometimes that's referred to as relational bullying because it involves hurting someone's reputation or their relationships. The type of social bullying would be leaving someone out on purpose, out of a communication or out of a activity. It could also be involving trying to disassociate friends with someone so that they don't have them as a friend. It could also be spreading a rumor about someone that's not true. And embarrassing someone in public is also this type of bullying. We're very familiar, perhaps mostly, with physical bullying, which involves hurting a person's body or their possessions. And that type of thing here that we're talking about is hitting a person, kicking them, spitting at them, perhaps pushing them or tripping them up. Or perhaps sometimes breaking something that they have, that they own. Also, crude hand gestures is a type of bullying. When bullying happens, bullying can occur any place, after school hours, but mostly bullying reported is in school, happens in the school building. And a significant percent actually happens or takes place on a playground or a bus. It can also happen when the children are traveling to school in their school buses, in their neighborhood even, or on the internet. Now, what can parents do about bullying? You know, the most important part of that is to be able to talk and listen to your kids every day. Research shows us that often we are the last people to know that a person, one of your children, are being bullied. So spend a moment each day, is a suggestion we have, asking open-ended questions about who your child spends time with at school or in the neighborhood, and what they do between classes and at recess, who they have lunch with, or perhaps what happens on the way to school or from school. Your child, by the way, can feel comfortable talking to you about their peers, and that's important. They're involved in, especially if they're involved in a bullying event. The other thing you can do as a parent is be a good example of kindness and leadership. Your kids learn a lot about power relationships from your just watching them and they watching you. If you get angry at a waiter or sales clerk or a driver on the road, guess what? It's a great opportunity for you to have an effective communication model about these issues with your child. Parents can learn about signs of bullying, and it's important, by the way, to know that, to sense where your child is coming from if he or she is being bullied. Now, what they may tend to do is have headaches, they may have stomach aches, they may be avoiding recess or school activities of some sort, and also perhaps getting to school very late or very early, thus avoiding bullying or trying to avoid that. The other thing you need to do as a parent, we strongly suggest that you study and learn about the school policies regarding bullying. You're going to have to maybe use these procedures to support your child if, in fact, they become either a bully or being bullied. The other thing you can do is establish household rules about bullying. Your children need to hear from you explicitly that it's just not okay to bully or to be bullied, and just watch the kids being bullied. That is not right and not okay. Make sure the children know that if they're bullied physically, verbally, or socially, it is safe and important for them to talk to you about it. You are going to help them, and that's what you need to tell them. And finally, I'd like to speak a little bit about cyberbullying. It's definitely existing, and children don't realize what it really is. But cyberbullying includes sending mean or vulgar or threatening messages about somebody, or images perhaps, and posting either private or sensitive information about another person. Pretending to be someone else is also a possibility, to make that person being bullied feel bad and be looked at as being a bad person. These acts are as harmful as physical violence and must not be tolerated. Thank you for listening about bullying. And let me add in closing that I have found and want to pass on to you how important it is to properly explain any bullying actions that you sense with your child to the school folks. It's there that they can be helped. And now Tracy, please talk to us about substance abuse.
Thank you, Dick. Glad to be here. So, substance abuse is a very serious issue in the community of Alton and in New Hampshire in general. And many of our youth turn to substance abuse to cope with things like stress, anxiety, depression, and feeling that they don't have a social status that they would want. The common substances abused in our community are alcohol, marijuana, and the non-medical use of prescription drugs. And these are currently the three biggest issues in our area. And the increase in the non-medical use of prescription drugs is particularly alarming. Students will sell, trade, and give away their own medication or medications they take from family members in order to either get money and or just be trading these things for recreational use. It's important to note the patterns. Patterns of substance abuse are not necessarily the same in youth as they are in adults. Many adolescents who become hooked or are not hooked on one particular drug, but they may be using multiple substances instead and mixing substances, which can often be very dangerous. There are three different categories of substance abuse and use that I wanted to talk about. The first one is substance use, and this is the occasional use of alcohol or other drugs without developing a tolerance or without experiencing withdrawal symptoms when you've stopped the substance. The second category is abuse, which is it's starting to become very serious when you reach this layer. And this is the continued use of alcohol or other drugs, even while knowing that the continued use is creating serious problems socially, physically, or psychologically. And finally, the third layer is dependence, which there has to be at least three of the following factors present in order for someone to have a substance abuse dependency. The first one is that the person is using the substance longer than they intended. The second is that a persistent desire with unsuccessful efforts to control use, meaning they can't stop. The third would be large periods of time spent obtaining, taking, or recovering from the substance. The fourth is frequent periods of intoxication, especially when social and major role obligations are expected. So school responsibilities, social situations, family responsibilities, etc. Next would be continued use, even while knowing that the continued use is creating problems socially, physically, or psychologically. Then we'll see increased tolerance. Withdrawal symptoms may start to appear when the person tries to stop. And there may also become the issue of taking a substance to help deal with their withdrawal symptoms. So what can parents do about substance abuse? It's a very scary issue. And I think we talked a lot about it all throughout this segment. And the biggest piece is talking to your teens, keeping communication open. And also it's important to note some of the signs and symptoms that you may notice with your teen, such as sudden personality changes that include abrupt changes in work or school attendance, quality of work, work output, grades, how often you need to discipline them, unusual flare-ups or outbreaks of temper, withdrawal from responsibility, general changes in overall attitude, loss of interest in what were once favorite hobbies, changes in friends, and reluctance to have friends visit to the house and or talk about them, difficulty concentrating, difficulty paying attention, nervousness, aggression, increased secretiveness and hiding things, deterioration of physical appearance, deterioration of grooming, continually wearing of long-sleeved garments, particularly in hot weather, or reluctance to wear short-sleeved attire when appropriate. That's most common if the use is around something where they're using needles or injecting, borrowing money from friends, family, workers, co-workers or parents, stealing items in order to get money, secretive behavior, and suspicious sort of trips they may be taking to storage rooms, restrooms, the basement, the garage. Different substances can lend themselves to different types of symptoms. The most glaring symptom in all cases is a change, and usually a radical one in behavior. Other physical signs of substance abuse are things like slurred speech, trouble with memory, trouble with coordination, difficulty paying attention. And it's really important, as I said earlier, just to talk with your kids and to talk with them on a daily basis and ask them questions about their activities and their routines, not in an aggressive way, but in a friendly, open communication way. And once you get to know your child's normal behavior, you'll be able to tell when there is a change in their behavior and in their pattern of behavior. I'd like to finish up by saying that available on the CYA website, there will be this booklet that's actually very helpful for parents, and it's called Growing Up Drug-Free, A Parent's Guide to Prevention. And this is something that's put out by the Department of Education Safe and Drug-Free Schools program. And you can get a hard copy, by contacting CYA, and it's very helpful. It runs through all of the information, and I think it's something that most parents should certainly look at. Thank you.